Okay, we gotta cut the intro because, look, this might be the strangest video and twist of events that I've recorded in a while. Remember Yrel, right? Pretty much your standard virtuous hero's journey character. Yeah, she's kind of a space Nazi crusader character now. And the reason why she's a space Nazi, well, that is extremely important in my view to the future direction of World of Warcraft. So let's just get into it. I think I have some explaining to do first. Now, during Warlords of Draenor, we had a direct portal to Draenor. Anyone could go through it at will. The time travel did not matter, it was just a direct link. Well, since the end of the expansion, that portal was closed, and when we go back to recruit the Draenor orc clans, like 35 years or so have passed. And man, they are 35 really strange years. So when we left Draenor, of course, everyone was getting along really well. The orc clans were unified under Grommash as their war chief, which itself was a little bit odd. And then, of course, the Draenei, they were friends, and basically everyone was working together to clean up the remaining Legion forces. Now, at some point, Durotan and Draka have a daughter, and Grommash also has a son. So far, it all seems kind of normal. Oh, let's hop over to the Draenei side. So, with no Legion to kill, the Draenei get more and more obsessed with the light. They basically get fanatical about it. Now, the Naru, they start to command the Draenei to convert the Mag'har orcs to the light. And this starts normally, but it gets real dark. The Draenei, they converted more and more orcs, including Grommash's son, and then they start forced conversion. Yeah, and then they're in open war with the orcs. Now, during this war, Durotan is killed by the Draenei's forces. So, yeah, I hope you didn't want to see more of him because Blizzard have pretty much killed him off screen. Now, you might be wondering, what's up with Yrel, right? She was a good egg, why would she do this? Yeah, no, she's almost certainly leading the Draenei through this. It's not like they got rid of her, nope. And we know this because when the Lightbound are defeated, they pretty much call out for her when they die. So Yrel is full bore leading a religious war in an attempt to convert the orcs. Her troops killed Durotan. I mean, if you think of that, it's a bit weird when you think of how those characters are interacted. I mean, come on, just look at this line. The High Exarch orders you to submit or face judgment. Yrel's the High Exarch here. So Yrel, good, nice Yrel, is leading a fanatical holy war in which her enemies are either converted or, it would seem, killed. Whew. So when you read the Lightbound, the text that they say, it's some mighty interesting stuff. The big thing is they talk about the healing of scars, and that's a direct reference to the Illidan and xe'ra stuff from the writers at Blizzard, so it's referencing the 7.3 events. So anyway, all this happens because we arrive and we ask for help. I mean, the Horde players ask for help, and we get caught up in this holy war, which, the Draenei are pretty much killing or converting the Mag'har orcs. And while we're doing all this, we do get some cool character interactions. You've got the likes of Grommash and Eitrigg having some really good dialogue. There's a new Thrall-like character who I actually think could be a really interesting addition. I only say Thrall-like because, daughter of Durotan and Draka. And now, the idea of Grommash's son joining the Draenei, that's pretty interesting given the parallels. So I imagine we might face him down at some point. It kind of depends on how, disposable this lore is going to be. Broadly speaking, though, it seems like Blizzard have attempted a bit of a reversal. You've got the Thrall-like character being female instead of male. You've got the Draenei invading the orcs rather than the other way round. You've got the Garrosh-like character who is shedding his orc heritage instead of sort of bigging it up. Overall, it seems like this is a cool idea from a bird's eye view, and I think it's also clearly done in order to set up future events. But when you get down to the level of the characters, you see, that's where it's a bit messy. Now, time skips are often really jarring as a plot device, and they have to be executed well to work. So really, this thing just seems a little bit doomed to fail, and while they might have moved the plot forward with this, it seems like they've done it in a way that is not really in the service of the characters. And ultimately, the plot only exists to serve the characters and what, the story, the real part of the story that matters, it's the emotional arc for the characters. Now, you might think that's a bit unrealistic, but, spoiler alert, the stories aren't real. They're actually constructed, and yeah, characters first. I typically have thought the Blizzard, they're not great at telling stories, but for the most part, they're great at doing Wikipedia entries. Essentially, what I mean by that is they've got a cool world, they've got cool lore, and they've got some cool characters on paper, but they struggle with the execution of those characters. They typically are at their best when they're just doing a big, cheesy, popcorn-style thing, and they struggle when it comes to bringing depth and complexity to their characters. And typically where you see that stuff done well is by other people in the novels. So when we look at this as a Wikipedia entry, it's really interesting and it sets up cool lore. In patch 7.3, we saw a real glimpse of the dark side of the light. Its power comes with obedience, and I've already talked about how I'm pretty sure we're going to fight the light at some stage. Of course, when I made that video, I rightly got memed on for talking about 9.0 before 8.0 had even hit alpha, but the contents of the video, I think they're definitely supported by these recent events with the Draenor. So I suppose basically this is just another data point. With Illidan and xe'ra, that was just one event with 2 characters. Well, here we see the light side fanaticism taken to a far larger scale and basically a full-on war, which I think is a little bit more significant. Now, the core reason why this happened is that without the Legion to fight, the light-aligned forces focused on dominating others and converting them. Well, in the main universe, we have just defeated the Legion, so one has to wonder whether these events are directly foreshadowing a light-based opponent, and, if us defeating the Legion sort of maybe the Nauru refocus their efforts in a bad way. Now, I'm particularly interested in seeing how existing light-aligned characters react. Velen is bound to be mulling over things, he just saw what happened with xe'ra, and that's bound to be a bit troubling. Turalian is already a bit conflicted, I assume, with Illyrio's void power, so we could see, maybe his fanaticism pushes him away from her, or maybe he gives up on that. I mean, come on, I've seen a few messy divorces in my time, but they would all pale in the comparison to these two having a messy breakup. But let's close this off with talking about Yrel. So here's the deal with me and Yrel. I liked her character initially, but I sort of soured on it as time went on. Why? Well, you see, there was a cut rate tier, and it really got in the middle of her character development. I just thought that Blizzard were not able to sell that character getting to where they put her as time went on. But, still, this is a character that people liked, and this is a pretty big shift in character. Could it work over time? Absolutely, but, only if the possibility of it had have been established. And I think in general, introducing something like this through a really big time skip, that's kind of just doomed to fail. Now, that said, Blizzard initially did tease that Yrel had a dark secret, and we never saw that dark secret. It was presumably cut, either for narrative reasons or for just development reasons, but this fanaticism, could this have actually been a part of Yrel's dark secret? Dealing with it in Warlords of Draenor, in my view, would have made her a far more interesting character. So, yeah, I suppose they've opened up the possibility of us seeing maybe more of Yrel in the future and leaning in this dark secret thing that they teased but never actually did. At this stage, it's hard to know, and if I was to take anything away from this video and this topic, it would be that the light is not to be trusted. I have been saying this for a long time now, and it seems like Blizzard is only just hinting more and more and more that, yeah, the light, I mean, it's powerful, it's ostensibly good, but it's going to put you all in chains, and that seems like a pretty bad thing, given how sort of freedom generally seems to be the line of a lot of characters like, say, Illidan. But there you go, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. A massive thank you to everyone over on Patreon. You can check out the new Patreon postcards. There's also a bunch of vlogs in the way, behind the scenes stuff, and also the new Patreon lens feature, which I've been experimenting with. It's kind of like a weird Snapchat story thing, so you can check that out. Link down in the description. But with all that said, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Mm-hmm.